to find that magic once more.
Beautifully said. Let's head over to our casters.
Thank you so much, Dagda. I think that's such a good point because I want to give everyone some faith that we could be going to a Game 5, right? Like, that's the main thing, and we're already straight into draft as the Kalista and the Xayah are still going to be banned away, and I saw that little look on your face there, Chronicler. I'm also not that psyched about it. I want to see a little bit more adaptation. I don't know whether the Xayah is a necessary ban.
And given Guma's performance and how comfortable he is on the champion, it makes sense, but I'm a big believer in when you see a champion just consistently be an issue, and in this case, it's the Ashe. Even in the games where Ashe wasn't able to actually get over the line, I feel like the pick has just felt so strong. It gives so much utility while also being a lane bully.
Well, now they can first pick it. Now T1 is saying, hey, by the way, do you want to ban Aurora or do you want to ban Ashe? And because Genji is going to take one of them, the Aurora comes through, you imagine the Ashe is the first pick. T1 now have the choice around, do they want to grab themselves the Vi? It's proven to be very effective, but also what is their answer into it? Because the truth is, Guma hasn't really shown something like an Ezreal, right? This is not something that he goes to, which we've seen as a typical answer at Worlds. Jhin would be his likely response. Something like the Caitlyn would be his usual. Maybe a Draven could come through. But given the current meta, with all the presence of the lane swaps, I'm not sure how effective they are.
And I was going to say that this is something that we've seen come out sparingly this Worlds. This was Gumayusi's best champion for a long time. His Varus steals Barons, steals hearts. It's incredible. As Oner just playing with ours just a little bit there with the hover of the Kindred. We'll see whether he does go back to that one as he's hovering over quite a few options. The Skarner could be a great pick away, and he is going to lock that one in.
Is this a, in case of emergency, pick Canyon Nidalee situation again? We saw it come up against FlyQuest.
He's got a smile
I'm seeing
on his face.
A very slight smile on that man's face, and this was the pick that brought Genji to Silver Scrapes. He single-handedly, and they're just running it back. They were here last week.
Yep, we've got some tape of this one, you know? Let's see what the answer is going to be from T1 though, because of course they know exactly what to expect.
I mean, Canyon's Nidalee. What else is there really to say? I mean, you're 100% right. Jax would be a great pick. It looks like that's going to be the lock-in for T1. Double 80 carry comps. Jax loves those. His E gets so much value out of it. He offers so much zone control. But, I mean, Game 4, backs against the wall. The Nidalee comes through. The ban of the Cassante is so crucial for Keen. I think that it's such a safe top lane pick, just in general, but in Keen's hands, it's also a devastating carry threat that you don't want to run the risk of him getting. Now, on the side of Genji, they can look to pinch the mid lane pool a little bit more. Maybe they remove the Ahri for themselves. No, they're actually targeting Keria. They're really trying to limit the options that this bot lane has.
Yeah, playmaking for Keria, I think, is a great thing to target, especially when Keria is coming off a win. Because when he has that mojo, when he's feeling it, it can be very scary to go up against this guy when he has confidence, as Braum is going to be taken away from
really
the hands.
Good. And also from Keria. I actually really like that ban there from T1. What feels most likely here is the R4 on Renata, trying to get a strong 2v2 and play through that. But it does open up a Lance counter pick.
What about
That's something that I don't think they necessarily want to go towards. And they're going to save the Keria counter pick, and this shouldn't come as a surprise. But I do worry about the Ahri, as we have seen it be pretty hit or miss, but it's Faker, so I'll give him the benefit of the doubt.
It's Ahri. Like, his Ahri has been very good at this World Championship, and I think that it makes it, like, this is a very Genji-esque comp in the side of T1.
It is.
Meanwhile, Genji, the Poppy, I think, offers a decent amount of value here, both into the Ahri and into the Jax.
Playing towards Keen's team fighting as well, I think, is a really good idea in this game, because I think that when Keen is under pressure, that's what he plays towards, not necessarily smashing lane.
They need a Leona or a Rel right now. They need some engage to come through from Genji. I think T1 might be thinking about a Rakan, which is why they saved the pick for later as well, because crucially, the Maokai is often used as a response, but...
Oh, is he cooking?
He's going to lock in the Maokai anyway.
Oh, keeping it a flex?
You're right.
So they don't know what's going to go where, and it also locks out the Rakan pick. The main reason why we see this Maokai is because it is so strong into the Rakan.
Yeah,
and now there's Poppy as well.
Yeah. So actually creates a bit of an awkward scenario. Normally this is where we would go Bard, particularly into the immobile 80 carry of the Ashe.
Yeah.
What's not available?
Is it a pike angle?
Oh, that'd be fun. I don't know whether it is. That would certainly be... Oh, okay, yeah, it's a pike angle. It's a pike angle. It's all those bone skewers are targeted for this guy. Watching that series blew my mind. Vadius, I'm so glad that you had your finger on the pulse there, because this could be fireworks on the bottom side of the map. Gen.G certainly with some experimentation here. Right now it looks like the Maokai is going to be going into the support position, and Keen will be taking the Poppy into the Jax on the top side. In the LCK, this is seen as a really good matchup for the Poppy, and so something that Keen has played around before.
I mean, I think even internationally, we've seen it do wonders into the Jax matchup as well, especially if you're confident on the Poppy. The crucial thing for me is when playing Ashe, you need lane prio. Sorry, Ashe. When you're playing with Nidalee, you need that lane prio. We've seen Canyon succeed so well at playing around the strength and push of his lanes to put pressure on the enemy jungle. And like, it is the way in which old school Damwon thrived. The laners play for Canyon. I mean, me and Quickshot back in the day used to have a thing called Ring the Beryl, where Beryl would cover for lanes to help them push out waves so the Canyon could keep farming, right? This is a champion synonymous with this jungler, and it's so crucial that his laners give him the prio to play the champion to perfection and allow him to thrive in the ways that he so often does.
And we're all hoping it goes to game number 5,
100%.
but if this doesn't work for Gen.G, then I don't know what would have, right? I know that Tristana not in the spot that she was before, but you somehow get both Tristana and Maokai, which was a combo that was basically never be allowed to play, while also getting Canyon Italy.
That is definitely an incredible thing. However, this is T1 at Worlds, and T1 with match point. Moving into this game number 4, a date with BLG next week in London is what's on the line, and there is only one step left to take.
And they are double Halo Bladesing.
Oh, God,
we remember from spring 2023, when you see those keystones, the enemy bot lane is about to have a bad time.
Something's going down. Something is definitely going down.
To fight. It's just unbelievable that T1's even in this position. I feel like that so many fans that only watch internationally think this is just another year for T1.
Yeah,
like last year, reigning world champions here in the semifinals at match point. Of course, why wouldn't they be here? They were also top 3 at MSI.
Well, the thing that's ridiculous as well is that last year, if you look at summer, it ain't a great time for T1 either. So maybe fans are just like, oh yeah, we're used to this. Yeah. You just have a little bit of a lull before you come back up again. It's like the swell of the ocean.
Spot him with the sweeper. I think they spotted each other.
Information now going over as Bo5 is going to pull pace in. He has to flash, and T1 outplay them.
The invaders come through from Gen.G though. Canyon going to be able to steal away this buff. We'll see how Oner responds as we get standard matchups. Now this bot lane I feel is very volatile. Ashe lanes typically give you a lot of control and prio, but Varus is a lane bully in his own right. His E gives him a lot of control over the lane in the similar way that the volley does for the Ashe. Meanwhile in the mid lane, Chovy leveraging his pro. We talked about how important that is for the Nidalee. As the blue is taken away, Canyon returns to his side of the jungle.
I think we're going to need to see another Chovying performance, much like we saw in Game 5 against FlyQuest on his Smolder. We're going to need to see absolute domination, stay ahead of the curve, make sure that these items come in at exactly the right times. All right, Keria finding the Bone Skewer onto the hands. That's another flash. They'll take that, and this is a T1 bottom lane that, yes, we've always known that they're capable of. We haven't really seen this level of aggression for a long time.
Paze even went for Halo Blades himself just to try and be able to trade a little bit better, stack up that passive early. The main thing for Gen.G is that the bottom lane is still alive and relatively healthy. We also have Oner on the opposite side of the map, and Canyon is starting, or should be able to build a lead once the actual full care comes through, because he got that early buff on in Oner's jungle.
Oner, I think, actually expected his Grom to also be taken. He took the walls, then path back up towards the top side, which is the most frustrating thing for T1, because you look at that bot lane matchup and we're like, Oner, dive now, please dive. But because of his pathing, it's hard for him to actually be in a position to really set that up. He's setting his sights on mid after Faker got a really nice trade onto Chovy.
Yeah, Oner now driving in, looking for Chovy, just gets the flash. I think the rocket jump must have been on cooldown. And Oner is just going to take that explosive charge and be absolutely fine. Meanwhile, setting up for a potential dive is another max range Bone Skewer going to connect from Keria. This guy, it's targeted, right?
That's now 3 flashes down, and for a pick as volatile as Pyke, that is a playground. You have so many lanes to play through. Oner, will Canyon hold off? They are going to know with the saplings. Canyon, I think, is going to try and play through the fog, not try and show himself.
Yeah, Keria moving on over. Was hit by one of the traps there, so information was given as to his whereabouts, and they will just back away.
If that back completes, that bot lane is not surviving.
So, momentum-wise, you feel like everything's going the way of T1. The bot lane 2 versus 2 is winning out on the skirmishes. They got both the flashes. In the mid lane, Faker out-trading Chovy. I mean, not resulting in a huge CS lead, but still going well overall. What's crucial to remember is that Canyon is continuing to farm. Canyon's Nidalee is not terrifying within the first 4 minutes of the game, but for every minute that goes by, this champion will continue to get stronger. Keen in the top lane matchup continues to do well. It's a tough matchup for the Jacks as well. And so Genji definitely don't have to be too terrified, even though the bot isn't going the way that they would like.
I'm also wondering if Canyon thought that Oner took his blue, because his blue has actually been up since the start of the game, because they they read the early play from, because Keria caught Pays, right? So I assume Canyon made the read. I figured when he went to his Gromp, he would have seen it, but Keen.
Oh yeah, there's another Bone Skewer being charged up. First one that he's going to miss outright. And Keen will survive.
Ice cold.
Yeah, I like that. Just continuing to walk. It's the continue to walk strategy, one that we haven't seen for quite a while. No jukes abound.
And Chronicle has been talking about this, the impact of the supports, right? We saw it from Keria Game 1, Game 2, we saw Lehens very active on the map. Game 3, I think both supports were trying to make plays around the map, but with Keria kind of just finding those advantages because T1 was finding advantages. But now Keria's on a champion that has so much agency, but his AD carry is alone.
Oh yeah, Gumayusi in a lot of trouble. Does have to use that cleanse. Okay, he's going to take some damage back though, as, yeah, that's a decent trade.
Remember
Still,
they did
summon a spell advantage.
He did do that thing last year.
Yeah, I remember that thing.
Outplayed.
I was about to say they did buff the lethality virus a little bit more, and as you rightly said, this man has a bit of a history on this champion.
I'm actually surprised it hasn't come out more this Worlds, to be perfectly honest. I think it's in a decent position, especially in the hands of players like Gumayusi, who are so incredibly good at it.
We talked about it on the way here, didn't we, Atlas? Where, like, the mobility and how, like, in the meta it feels it can be difficult to play, but in a position like this...
Yeah, Faker looking for Canyon, trying to find that opportunity, scaring him with where the shot might go. Point blank, the charge, the stun, but the knockback with the monster shot is not enough, and first blood goes to Faker's Ahri, and it's Faker's Ahri. That's the biggest thing here, because Ahri has been such a curse for so many teams. We actually have the stats here for both Faker and Chovy, and it is a different story when it's the unkillable Demon King that has it. As another charm is going to connect him. Gumayusi executes. Lehens, they do try and even out the fight as Faker is evicted, but T1 are still standing their ground. A great start for the defending world champions as Genji do manage to get back some control of this grub pit. And I believe for the very first time, we're going to trade a couple of grubs instead of just taking 3.
That's such a hefty prize, though. Lehens gets blown up, but it's the kill on Canyon in particular. That is the biggest thing here. Early on, getting taken out. Faker further accelerated than Chovy on a nerf Tristana. Not able to find the impact as... this couldn't be a better time for this graphic to come up.
No, exactly right. Here with match point in hand, Faker on a champion that he's been synonymous with for a very long time. There's quite a few of those, of course.
Yeah, sure.
Orianna, Azir, Ryze, like
but
there's
this one
plenty.
has a special
Zed is a pretty good one. This one does have a special skin. LeBlanc also has a special skin, and the win rates for both his LeBlanc and his Ahri are about equally ridiculous.
So world skin aren't special anymore?
Yeah.
I mean, they're all special. I was just saying that there's a lot of special.
Extra special, okay?
When everything's special, you have to sort of redefine where it lies, you know?
Now, Genji have a stacked wave on the top side. T1 have read the play effectively. Faker's on the rotation. Keria.
Yeah, can he charge it? He does find a knockback onto Pays. There's a crash into the wall as well. Lehens just caught out and explodes. Oner's going to grab kill credit for that one, and T1 seem to do no wrong.
It's an aftershock that ends up picking up the kill as Zeus is pushing on the bot side of the map. 3 kills for T1. And we talked about the momentum earlier, but it feels like that this train just continues to ride in the way of T1's victory.
And Lehens, that was a journey he did not want to take. Trying to punish Keria, but we have seen this, I think, with a lot of the jungle Maokais. You learn the lesson pretty quickly. If the enemy champion has a dash, do not just W in. He did it there, gets very, very heavily punished, and now we already have a 1.5K gold lead here for T1, only 8.5 minutes in.
You wouldn't think watching this series that Gen.G have been the father of T1 for so long in their domestic history. Because Worlds T1 is just a different beast. They are the only team in the world where the plotline truly seems to be unbreakable.
Yeah, the script really just seems like, as much as you talk about it, it still seems infallible. As, all right, looking for a bit of an opportunity towards Gumayusi, but he does the walk strat, moves away. Keria will be able to move back up again, trying to dodge vision as he does get back up there, but is going to be spotted on the edge of that ward. So full information does go on over. So moving into a state of slightly less action as we look towards maybe a dragon take. Of course, that hasn't been looked at just yet. Still 10 minutes into the game, would be a relatively late one.
And one thing to do, keep in mind, is that this game still feels less explosive than the previous Pyke game we saw. And T1 did have some issues closing that one out.
They
Pyke,
did.
As good as Pyke is, and for as long as we've seen Keria play this is the game state that you want, and I think we need to see more objectives, right? Like, I think the gold alone is nice, but I want to see dragons being taken early, and I want to see that Rift Herald take down that mid lane, because the moment that control of the map is ceded and vision starts to drop, that's when the Pyke feels unpunishable.
And I also think that this whole series has been about who can play the game plan that they wanted to play coming out of the draft. And I don't think that either team has been denied just yet. In the shellackings that we had games 2 and 3, it's because Gen.G and T1 both enabled their win conditions so incredibly well. This time around, we haven't quite seen that happen just yet. Still an opportunity for Gen.G to try and turn the tides of this one with moving Chovy into side lanes, obliterating these turrets and creating leads that way.
The only problem for Gen.G right now is they're not in a great position for grubs. They have just secured the dragon, which is a nice pickup for sure. However, on the top side of the map is T1's bot lane. Zeus does have the TP available. I'm pretty sure he has it available at the very least in a few seconds. So this is going to be a difficult objective to contest, meaning that 4 grubs will go in the favor of T1.
Don't let it go. No possible contest, and a Nidalee composition that isn't able to snowball early objectives.
And a Tristana composition that doesn't get a decent amount of grubs.
Yep, quite rough, and there is vision. Gen.G obviously knew that this was happening.
Oh, Keria for a bone skewer on his on Keen there towards the top side.
Canyon pathing back towards top, ready for a potential dive. Knows that Keen needs to catch this wave. And he's working with Chovy to clear out some vision. Nice spear connects. We're going to be saying that a lot this game, I feel.
Yep.
We'll see how impactful those spears end up being, though, as now these neutral objectives fall away from the Rift. We turn back to a neutral game state, and these teams turn their attention towards the remaining plates. 2.5 minutes remaining until those fall off completely, and you're going to be seeing teams cross-map. Look to try and secure as many of these as possible to funnel that early gold injection to get ready for those first items. As you can see, Malignance and Heartsteel already completed for Faker and Oner.
And it's so interesting thinking about where team fights are going to go later on in the game, because I feel like anytime a Poppy exists, any team fight can go towards the Poppy team if that ultimate is going to be used effectively, especially when it's, you know, say Oner gets an amazing ultimate and then gets just Poppy ulted away, and then, you know, if it's a 3-man ulti, he just dies. That could be kind of funny. Certainly some interactions that could work out there, but it really does change the tide of how this game is going to work.
There's also a lot of champions on T1 that rely on their mobility to make plays in fights, right? Pyke is the most obvious one, but even for Ahri, it's the case as, I don't know if they really have an angle. They don't have any vision, so they don't want to risk it. 2v2 could not go their way, but the fact that the Maokai, even with Lahens having a really rough performance so far, in team fights, in theory, should be able to do something like, look at the game state, look at the map state. Keria is everywhere. Paze just keeps having to drop waves. Oner's looking for a possible punish now, and reinforcement on the way. I don't know if you're in time.
Flash has to come out because those Chains of Corruptions would have just killed Paze, especially with the Scorpion making his way in. Lahen's a little bit late to defend the summoner spell of his lane partner. Still, just plates going over for T1. As, man, that bone skewer very, very close to lopping down the tree. That's what you do, right? You lop down trees?
Yeah, it's correct, actually. That's the perfect terminology.
Sure.
Herald, going to be the next objective that lobbing will be commencing. We'll see who gets that objective, as right now the T1 members are resetting. Vision needs to be replenished, gold needs to be spent. Gen.G going to push out these waves. We'll give them initial access to the topside river, but it means that they haven't had that opportunity to base, spend some gold, and look at those items between the 280 carries. No Blade of the Ruin King completed yet for Paze, or even Static Shiv rather, I should say. And we'll see what direction he goes as
Yeah, and getting Gumayusi onto that single item before Paze gets there as well. We know what this guy can do with his Varus. He is just exceptionally strong on this pick as Keria continuing to be annoying. And like you were saying, this guy is pretty good on Varus, as we can see.
He's somewhat familiar, yes.
Yeah, somewhat.
This feels like a Hail Mary here for Gen G. If they lose
can't
this
start
fight,
a Baron, though, because Gumayushi's on Varus, like we were talking about. You can't do that. We're talking about plot armor. I mean, that's to bridge too far. As now Oner is just trying to bully them out of the area.
Faker's actually gone back to base. He does have the TP available. He's going to commit it now to the top tower.
Might even be able to grab an outer before he makes that flank happen.
This is it.
She'll be able to lock it in as Keen gets in there before the arrow does come down. Slightly mistimed, but yeah, Keen was already softened up. And you can see Zeus makes his way into the mid lane. They are taking control of the lanes as Gen G are committing onto this Rift Herald. Chains of Corruption going to connect onto Lahans. He's thrown down the ulti, but he's just dead. There's nothing he can do, but Keen gets rid of two, and now Faker, he's able to dance his way out. Keria, he's burning, but he should be absolutely fine. Regens that health because he's out of vision. And Chovy still in a little bit of trouble. Zay's going to take a mid lane out of turret at the same time. They take the Rift Herald, but at what cost?
Way too much cost. They give up 2 turrets. A kill goes over again. And the Herald alone is never going to be able to recuperate all that loss.
It's a devastating position for Gen G to be in. The lane economy snapshot represents the difference in gold right now.
I would say there's an economic advantage for T1.
There is. And T1, they do sacrifice the Herald. It was an awkward position for them to really get in because of the Maokai ultimate. But they secured the top tower, they secured the mid tower. Honestly, T1 was a little greedy even trying to contest that because they committed both top and mid to securing those outer towers. They got level 11, and then I thought they were trying to collapse. But of course, getting a pick is still worth it after securing those objectives. Second Dragon of the game will go towards T1, equalizing that up. But the goal difference is the most crucial thing.
Oh God, another one! We got the big souls in this series, and also this means that we've got Hex Gates, so teams can fight a whole lot more than they otherwise would. Also gives you a little bit of leeway in your movement around the map as well. Can certainly feel good to try and snowball things further forward.
I also have to apologize, my AD carry animation, Kraken Slayer, secured for Paze. Gonna be the first item, a valuable first item, of course, the additional attack speed, but it still doesn't solve the problem of into this Jax. We've already seen how AD carries fare when playing into this in Game 2, when T1 tried to hand the double AD carry into the Jax. But the presence that Zeus is going to be providing in these fights is going to make it very difficult for Chovy and Paze to play optimally.
Oh man, T1 going to be able to clean up the last remaining outer turret here as well. Faker going to claim credit for that one on his Ari. Now looking for a back angle. Is he going... Interesting itemization here, a little bit of a stretch away from what we have seen otherwise as the Lichbane does come through. This is something that used to be in vogue a lot, but I think a lot of players have moved away from it towards the Liandry's instead, but Faker has really liked Lichbane for a little bit of extra side lane power.
And I know we've mentioned it a lot as a hold that thought lands might be in trouble again, but looks like he's going to be okay. Although Guma...
Oh, manages to catch him on the juke, and he explodes one more! Oner's like, all right, let's just turn away. We are not required.
Lahans, 0-7 in the last game, 0-4 in this one. Just not able to be where he needs to be, but I want to hone in on T1's performance, because this team was, and if you experienced it, you'll know, but the team that played against KT could not be further away. And I know they do it every year, but that doesn't take away from the fact that it is such a transformation, because it wasn't just the meta, right? It was also the cohesion of the members, the confidence.
I mean, remember that in a world where there is no 4th seed, T1 isn't here.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah,
It's just Damwon takes their spot, or D plus Kia, my apologies. Yep. But the addition of that 4th seed, allowing T1 to be here, for them to be in this position. In the past, they were denied that when they did have those slumps. They didn't make it to the World Championship, but they are an organization. And that man in the mid lane is a player that has never missed a semi-final.
And also, if they manage to win here this year, it's 2 4th seeds from the LCK winning in the last 3 years. That's kind of insane. That's even a thing we can talk about.
You guys need to stop.
We are getting a bit ahead of ourselves. We are definitely getting ahead of ourselves. T1 fans are definitely getting nervous. I apologize. I know I'm like not even allowed to tweet about this team anymore. You know that?
But the
as
point
soon as I say
is,
anything positive, they lose.
The reality is that the position that they're even in is already in and of itself ridiculous considering the path that they took to get here. Which is why their performance right now should be reveled given how well they've been able to level up. Now, as you rightly said, 5-0 is the score, the lead that they have. 5k is the gold lead. Baron spawns in 50 seconds. Dragon in a minute 50. Gen.G still have elements. They still have tools to turn the game around. It all comes down to whether or not they can punish T1 for their mistakes and if they can find a good angle to turn these fights in their favor.
And Gen.G have been pushed many times this year. TES brought them to 5 games at MSI after a 2-0 lead. They were able to persevere.
Oh, Faker looking for the charm, doesn't get it onto Canyon there, but gets the true damage on that Orbit Deception. As Lahan's allowed to drive once again. I don't know about it as he gets pulled back immediately, but he's able to absorb a lot of it still. The answering impale is so good. The arrow is going to connect onto the backline, onto Keria to deny him bone skewering anyone forward. And Gen.G, I mean, it was dangerous, but they get out of there after the charge, just not earning that much.
A very tense back and forth as T1 is able to protect their mid-tier 1. Gen.G, the idea was pretty promising there. The Ash Arrow didn't actually connect onto the Skarner. If it had, slightly further away from the tower, that could have been an opportunity for Gen.G at the very least to get a pick. But it connects onto Keria on the back line, which they really couldn't follow up on. Ultimately, though, no one ends up dropping. Gen.G have good setup for this top tower, but the TP is committed. Can they dive?
We'll see. It's going to be a fair bit of damage onto this one. Spear is going to be coming out perfectly. There's the twisted advance. The charm goes wide. Faker's dead. That is going to be Canyon taking him down, but it's now Zeus trying to be the hero. He catches Canyon with the Counter-Strike stun, and he's under the wrong turret. Lahan's going to go down for the 5th time, and it's a double for the other solo laner. They may have got Faker, but this is what he does. He baits them into death, and it's Baron started for T1.
Every T1 fan has seen this one before. You think you catch Faker in the side lane, and Gen.G, they know they can't contest this Baron. They're just TPing to mid to try and get something in return.
Gen.G just wanted the tower. Faker TP's in. They sit there and say to themselves, this should be an easy pick. His ulti wasn't off cooldown, but the collapse was crucial. Gen.G, I don't think you can do this, Dragon. They're going to start it, but the collapse is coming through. Faker's back out onto the map. Zeus as well.
All right. Gen.G do manage to make their way back out. As Keen also trying to get back. But man, this is only the start of the devastation. We've got 2.5 minutes of T1 with Baron. They're going to start by trying to take down this Dragon. With the resets coming through from Gen.G, there's not going to be an opportunity. Gumayusi coming on over will start to make short work of it. 2 items for this lethality Varus. T1 really just have Gen.G exactly where they want them. This is such a change from what we saw in this exact matchup in spring of this year, but that was a very different Gen.G. That was a Gen.G that looked impossible to take down. They took 2 games then. They're looking to only miss 1 in this series if things continue going the way they're going. Gen.G with opportunities to try and create miracles, but it's looking like they're going to need exactly that. They want to make their way back into this one. Only a 4,000 gold lead. Still looking pretty rough.
I mean, worlds aside, the fact that T1 is even getting revenge for a rivalry that has been so Gen.G favored domestically in and of itself is impressive. As we look back at the dive, the idea, I mean, it makes so much sense from Gen.G. Dive onto Faker. He's an easy pick. Even if the TP comes through, we can turn it. But they don't expect Oner to collapse this quickly as well. A beautiful flash from Zeus to get that stun for Canyon. He leaves the tower to finish off the kill, and they convert it onto Lahan's as well.
Canyon actually, I think, got aggro because of the Leandries. So because he hit the perfect spear to set up the initial damage, because there was a wave, not a big one, but would have been enough, but as a result takes so much damage. Baron still here for another minute. Gen.G just desperately clinging on to their world's dreams.
Steadfast presence now on cooldown for a little while as T1 look to set up a 5-man siege. on this inner turret. At 23 minutes, sieging is quite difficult unless the Bone Skewer comes through. The arrow is denied by the ulti from Keen, but now with only 2 stragglers here, Zeus will explode. It's Canyon that locks up the kill as Keen dives in once again. Pei is able to take down Keria, but it's Gumayusi standing tall and taking down Keen. Still a positive trade for Gen.G is still huge news.
Keen actually diving in there, denied the ultimate from Keria. Otherwise, Keria maybe could have gotten the resets, but because Keen jumped to his death, no resets for Keria. He ends up getting focus going down, and it's not enough, but think back to that previous game where Gen.G held on tenuous for so long.
T1 have shown tendencies at this World Championship to overforce. They throw the ultimate out, a beautiful response from Keen to create a numbers advantage. They have the confidence then to turn it back as they get a kill onto Zeus. And you'll see here this play, nicely done from Keen to avoid the resets from Keria. He knows how dangerous that could have been. And sighs of relief as Gen.G stay fighting here in Game 4.
And Helper's not even there. I think that guy is just completely overly stressed at this point in time. I'm sure he'll be back as this game does go on, but there was a little bit of a grin on Marta's face. Coach Kim as well, not looking all doom and gloom. They are still in this. We'll see. T1, Baron has worn off 2.5 minutes until that one's back up once again. Still a 4,000 gold lead, 5,000, something like that. Not end of the world, but 2 items now onto Chovy. 2.5 on Pays. 1-0-1 now, actually picking up a lot of that money in the last fight. Could be huge here for Gen.G.
Death kept done here for Faker.
He's pretty strong.
He is very strong. I would argue also just now the transformation for Guma. So T1 do have an opportunity. That one Drake, not as good of a cushion as last time, but still is going to be a big difference maker for Gen.G. Means that they probably should be able to get it to 3 items on their double AD carries. The issues don't stop there though, because Zeus on this Jax in a wonderful position is building towards that stopwatch as well, allowing him to play very far into the back line.
The problem I see for Gen.G is this poke is a problem. And Keen, I think he's going to be fine.
Extremely tanky.
Yeah, but the poke is a problem, and not only is it a problem, like, they don't have the best engaged tools. T1 have a lot of ways to just run away from a fight. Oner. Now, I don't think T1 need to be forcing this hard. Like, Dragon spawns in a minute's time, so does Baron. Oner committing his flash there, I think is a bit of a fumble, because now he doesn't have the potential play setup with his ulti later. And, like, this is a tendency we see with T1 sometimes when they have a big lead. They sometimes overforce. They did the same thing against Top Esports. They ended up still winning because, again, the gold lead is theirs. But they need to calm down because, as you both have already highlighted, Gen.G are a patient team. They will happily weather the storm.
I want to go back to the last game as well, though, because T1 were playing very patiently, very slowly, only taking the guaranteed advantages from around the map. This feels a little bit different. Might have something to do with that Pike being that good sidestep, but the charm is going to land here from Faker. That one chunks Keen. That's those 3 items that you guys were talking about. Faker also starting to get some Death Note stacks put together.
One of the few tools that Gen.G do have is actually Canyon's heal. Every single heal has a base heal of 240 going up to about 500. If you are chunked, that alone is not going to be enough, but it might be the mitigation that Gen.G need to at least try and contest. And it looks like they are not giving over Soul Point for free.
Well, Keria is going to walk into Lehens here. Pike so incredibly squishy. There's the teleport from Keen. The front line will arrive. Chains of Corruption do go wide. As now Lehens, he's chunked out just a little bit, but he's going to throw his life away for a good position in a team fight. Keria on a flank angle. It is going to be Oner taking Soul Point, but can they win the fight? That's a phenomenal ultimate from Keen, and Pays is untouched. Still, Keria explodes, pops like a balloon. Zeus has the counter-strike, but he has no friends. Faker dives in to try and save him. The flash of the Gumayusi, and it's a double kill. Pays now standing his ground. Gumayusi can't do anything, and Gen.G will ace them with Baron up and available.
Unbelievably, Gen.G turned the fight in their favor. They punished the execution. Baron is alive, and Gen.G say, we will not go down without a fight.
You might kill Lehens 5 times without getting punished, but that 6th one, he's got you right where he wants you, as the Baron is going to come through.
Oh man, and look, he may not have got the dragon or anything like that, but Canyon on this Nidalee, it always just seems to be something that can work out even when it's not supposed to. Late game Nidalee is not supposed to be a thing, but man, Keen coming in as such a hero.
The ultimate from the Maokai was huge. They're coming in from all angles, but Oner dying first. The target selection is great. They're all in the dragon pit. They then turn their attention to Zeus. A reset doesn't come through. Faker, he's only got, well, he does get 2 charges off. He tries to collapse on a Chovy to get the reset, but then a nice flash away from Chovy. It was simply a matter of Gen G targeting the person in front of them. And with the double AD carries in a front-to-back composition, Gumayusi just doesn't have the consistent damage.
Well, Arrow gonna go wide as once again, Gen G are looking for Faker.
Not again.
And yeah, they're just like, no.
Look at that.
We remember what happened. Yeah, how, like, what?
It's the most damage in the fight!
It is absolutely nutty. Maybe when he puts on Primal Surge, he gets credit for all of the extra attack speed that he gives his
I mean, I wish that we could watch that
friends.
fight again, because I feel like there were so many things that we missed. But all that matters right now is that Canyon's level 16.
That's a 3-item Nidalee, ladies and gentlemen.
And now it's Gen G that can begin their offense. The poke from them. We talked about Gumayusi's poke. Well, now it's Canyon's turn to get a bit of revenge.
And Vedi, in the previous game, you told about the waters, you know, the feeling of, oh, what if? Because
maybe it was just a game delayed.
Maybe.
You were right, just a little bit early. Gen G haven't done it yet, though, because all this has done is equalize the game, right?
Oh my God.
But look at that jump upwards. And the double AD carry now have hit their spikes.
All right, Boneskew are going to connect, but the spear does too. That is a decent impale, only onto one there as Lahan's able to eat some turret shots, and he'll be okay. Man, that Primal Surge almost gave him his whole health bar back. And the siege will continue here, as Chovy getting more and more stacks into that passage as well. Level 16, and the spears are hitting one after the other. Faker, he wants out. He's going to kill that siege minion, and they will back away. Keria, yeah, not wanting to stick around when he is seen on vision.
The charm from Faker didn't actually connect, even though Oner was able to land the ultimate. The top tower is now exposed as they turn their attention to mid to try and defend. T1's base is beginning to fall apart. They still have some towers remaining. But as you rightly said, Chronicle, return to an even state, and the Dragon Soul is on the horizon.
Big thing here for T1, they didn't lose any inhibitors. So this brought Gen G back in the game, but T1 still will get the opportunity to get a straight-up 5v5 for this Dragon. And they can even afford to give it up. I don't think they will, given how this series has played out. A minute and a half until it's available. As an elixir of iron, thank you for pointing it out, Vedi. For Keen, just trying to be as beefy as he can be.
Look at how tanky he is, though. Like, it's crazy. The Sundered Sky, this front line is exactly what they need. I was worried about Gen G's ability to engage, but around these neutral objectives, they're still able to find the fight. And what looked like a devastating collapse from T1, Gen G handled it so beautifully. Summoners are coming up. Maybe T1 can find an angle before that flash is back up for Chovy and pace, but I don't expect it. It's Gen G with control around the Dragon.
The amount of homework that they're doing as well, you can see this vision shutout. Yep, lights go off. And there is an Umbral Glaive here for Keria. They have ways to cheat vision in this game, but he's on Pike. You can't face check anything without just popping.
Yeah, particularly into both Maokai and Poppy. Another thing is that T1 doesn't actually have great hard engage. They have really good pick, which is why the game felt so one-sided. But outside of Oner going in, or like Guma, you know, going in with an ultimate, Faker hitting a charm, that is a lot more telegraphed, or it puts you in a position of danger. And engaging onto Gen G is also a nightmare. Tristana is notoriously hard to collapse on. There's a Poppy and Maokai combo in the game. And there's a lot
It's fascinating how quickly the dynamic shifted, right?
It's just, it's ridiculous.
But they don't need to go for this, is what I'm saying. T1 can bide their time. I just don't think they will.
Yeah, Nature's Grasp going to cut out the arrow, connecting onto Oner. Chains of Corruption just to try and buy some space. Oh, the flash onto Faker, the knock-up, and he's dead. Pieces, arrows follow him into the death chamber as the impale is decent. Oner's still alive, he's so tanky, and it's Gumayusi taking matters into his own hands. The spears go wide and the party goes down. It's a double kill for the Skarner, and Chovy's still alive. There's a bit of damage, but he gets over the wall, flashes, but the Bone Skewer finds him. The shutdown for Guma and T1. They want to go to London.
And Gen G trying to get the fight, but it
is conga lining in. Lahens, he knows he just has to move it away from these Nexus turrets. And he is able to stall out another teleport